This week saw the International Day against homophobia, biphobia and transphobia. This week also saw the vicious queerphobic attack of a young person in Navan here in Ireland. We need to talk about what happened, and equally importantly, why this happened. The 14-year-old from Beaufort College Navan was minding their own business with a group of friends when they were jumped on by a group of attackers, one of whom recorded the incident, which is now doing the rounds on social media. The 14-year-old was hospitalised by the attack, being left with a concussion, 4 broken teeth and untold psychological trauma. It's been confirmed that this is being treated as a hate crime motivated by queerphobia by the Gardaí, the 26 county police force. Acts of violence like these should come as a surprise to no one, given the massive rise in anti-LGBT+ rhetoric over the past year or so, particularly attacking trans people. This is of course coming from the far right, who've been gleefully stoking this queerphobic violence by accusing LGBT+ people of being dangerous groomers and pedos. And it's important to highlight that, despite what reactionary gender criticals might try to have you believe, transphobia is inseparable from homophobia, biphobia, sexism, misogyny, and so on. As we know, queerphobia, sexism, gender-based violence are all part of the same patriarchal system of oppression. But you may be asking, why is this happening now? Most of the countries seeing this rise in queerphobia already facilitate LGBT+ marriage, gender transitioning, and so on. So with this nominal legal support, what's the continued basis for the existence of this queerphobia? In short, class society and private property. Queerphobia and sexism exist to facilitate the intergenerational accumulation of private property through the patriarchal family structure. Strict gender roles and adherence to heterosexual relations have been enforced so that men would be guaranteed to have children to pass their private property onto. And through legally enforced monogamy, i.e. banning divorce, they will be guaranteed that these children will be biologically theirs. Anyone who stands in the way of this intergenerational accumulation of private property, such as cishet women or LGBT+ people who don't want to play along, is in our society subject to being forced to get in line and know their place, often violently, as we saw here in Navan. Now of course, the attackers in this case likely aren't aware of the roots of queerphobia in private property, much in the same way that those who engage in racism likely aren't aware of its roots in colonialism and slavery. Again protecting the interests of private property. The private property in question being human beings themselves through the system of slavery. But this ruling class ideology often unfortunately trickles down into a general reactionary sentiment among the population of people ourselves who own no private property. And so we see these kids reinforcing ruling class ideology through these kinds of attacks. But an injury to one is an injury to all. The attack of this young person is an attack on everyone who's oppressed by class society. The only solution then is to stand up and cast off the shackles of these oppressive systems once and for all. The solution is the abolition of the root cause of patriarchal oppression, class society itself. In other words, the solution is socialism. And socialists today are some of the strongest supporters of LGBT+ liberation. Real socialists, that is, such as the revolutionaries in the Philippines. Not the goofy reactionaries posing as socialists over on Turf Island. Obligatory digs at reactionary Brits aside, it's incredibly disappointing to see this queerphobia re-emerging here in Ireland. Despite our reputation as being a deeply conservative Catholic country, Ireland has historically been an extremely open and welcoming country to what we would now call queer identities. In fact, the Hercules of Irish mythology, Cuchulainn, was bisexual himself, having a romantic relationship with Ferdiad. And what's more interesting is that nobody ever batted an eyelid at this. Now why was this? Prior to Cromwell's invasion in the 1600s, Ireland was a communal, classless society. Without a slave, feudal or capitalist state to enforce class dictatorship, there was no firm basis for patriarchal queerphobic ideology. It was only when England violently enforced class society upon Ireland through colonialism and the systems of feudalism and capitalism that they exported, that these reactionary ideologies like queerphobia would begin to flourish. For Ireland to become free once more and fully decolonise, we need to rid ourselves of this reactionary colonialist patriarchal ideology, and indeed all reactionary elements of the systems that the English imperialists have forced upon us. In other words, liberation from the patriarchal oppression of cishet women and LGBT+ people can only truly be achieved through the establishment of the independent, democratic, 32-county Socialist Republic of Ireland. Solidarity to the young person in Navan who suffered this vicious, senseless attack. Remember, it's okay to be a little bit different. We all are in one way or another. Don't let this bring you down. Know that the vast majority of people in this country support you. LGBT+ liberation is not and never will be negotiable. Trans rights are workers' rights. For a more in-depth Marxist examination of the basis of patriarchal oppression, particularly focusing on LGBT+ oppression, have a look at the video Trans Liberation and Marxism. Is gender identity actually anti-materialist? No, it's not. Gur míle maith agaibh agus slán go fóill.